In the last part, we saw that Chu Chao was asking, "You remember me?" He could recognize and had called me out. The lady sincerely smiled and pointed to her husband standing behind her. Blushing lightly, the man smiled, revealing a row of neat, white teeth. "Where is that mister?" "It has been long since he last came here," that woman suddenly asked, still smiling with her eyes looking like two new moons. Wind had blown from the other side of the street. The man immediately took a step up, blocking the dust from his wife. That stream of motion seemed ever so natural. Chu Chao was a bit surprised by the man's actions, and for a moment she forgot to reply to the female owner. The woman continued to ask, "Missy? Missy?" Chu Chao turned to her and lightly smiled. "Oh, he headed to a distant place." "Oh," the woman nodded. "Then when will he come back?" As the autumn wind continued to blow and the leaves piled up in corners, Chu Chao's heart froze up bit by bit. Her complexion turned pale, and she felt a choking sensation in her throat. After thinking for a moment, she softly replied, "He moved away, and perhaps he will never come back." The woman could not see Chu Chao's expression and wanted to continue to ask, yet she was tugged on by her husband. This intelligent lady immediately understood and turned around and left. Before long, a bowl of steaming noodles was served, along with a plate of beef and half a plate of prawn dumplings. Even from afar, one could smell the vinegar. Chu Chao picked up her chopsticks, and after wiping it with her handkerchief, she started to eat. The noodles were boiling hot with diced spring onions sprinkled over the top, giving off a pleasant aroma. Chu Chao ate slowly. It had been too long since she had eaten a proper meal, and her stomach was flipping with acid, as though she was about to vomit. "The dumplings will get cold quickly," a crisp voice sounded out. Chu Chao turned around and saw a girl who was about 10 years old. She looked extremely familiar. Looking at the female owner, Chu Chao could instantly remember this girl, and she called out, "Xianer?" The kid frowned, and completely serious, she asked Chu Chao, "You know me?" Chu Chao smiled and did not speak much. The child sat on the chair next to her and asked, "You came here to eat before?" "Yes." Chu Chao nodded. A familiar sound of an instrument resounded. Chu Chao lifted her head, only to see that the shadow puppet play at the corner of the street started performing again. "Do you like to listen to those plays?" the kid asked. Chu Chao could not help but smile gently as she caressed the kid's hair while asking, "You are still interested in those plays?" "I am here with my parents every day, and there was nothing I could do anyways. Hearing your accent, you must not be a local. Can you understand what they are saying?" Chu Chao shook her head. The kid quickly suggested, "Then let me explain the story to you. I heard you tell me the story before." "It is a new show," the kid explained. "It is a show from last month, a new show." Seeing her enthusiasm, Chu Chao had no choice. "Go ahead, tell me the story." The singing began, and it certainly sounded like it was different from the past. Not only that, but there were more singers and more instruments, yet their business seemed like they were failing. The surroundings were empty, with only two toddlers rolling around before the stage without a single proper audience. They still carried on the performance with the utmost professionalism. The shadow of a lively shadow appeared on the screen. Even from afar, one could see the intricate designs of the facial features. "He is the prince." It was the same introduction, only that the prince now was different from in the past, as the intricate craftsmanship could suggest, along with much more detailed instruments. No matter how one looked at it, one could tell that it was no longer a poor group. At this time, another shadow appeared. "That is a lady," the kid explained seriously. There was a time that the prince headed out of his country and encountered this lady. The lady knew martial arts and beat up the prince. The prince was rather angry and wanted to take revenge, but later, something happened, and the prince fell in love with her. In these years, the kid had clearly improved in her storytelling abilities. Lifting her head up at Chu Chao, the kid asked, "Do you want to know what had happened?" Chu Chao's hand that was holding her chopsticks froze. and she stiffly nodded. Proudly, the kid smiled and continued. There was a time that they met an evil person, and the kind lady saved the prince a few times. The prince thought that this lady was so honorable, he wanted to bring her back to be his wife. Unfortunately, the lady did not like this prince, but liked someone else. Later on, she left with that person. At this time, another person appeared on the stage. This figure was different from the other two, and the puppet was poorly made, as it did not even wear clothes, and in its hand there was a wooden stick. But that man was a bad man. Not only was he unreasonable, but he was also ugly and poor, and liked to bully others. In the end, the lady suddenly came to her senses, so she left this man. At this time, another character appeared on the stage. The lady fell in love with another person, but this man was not good either. Not only was he arrogant, but he was also a bully and very ugly. He might even have some special interests, as he had been particularly close with another prince in the country. In any case, this new man could very well be a crazy person. And with that, the young girl heaved a long sigh and continued. Finally, the lady grew up and finally realized her mistake again. And with all her determination, she left the second person as well and came back to look for the prince. The prince had already risen to power and became the emperor. Not only was he handsome, but he was also rich and well-disciplined. He was kind and sincere. The lady was regretful and cried and knelt before the house of the emperor, pleading to marry him. In the end, the emperor reluctantly agreed. Thank you so much for watching. Stay with me, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified of the next part of the story. Thank you.